Hello, everyone. Welcome to our second edition of our weekly video cast topic, where we're going to talk to a group of general population about a random event of the week. This week, because it is the 4th of July weekend coming up, we're actually going to talk about America. As you can see with the American flag background, and let's talk about America. We're going to try to not be too political in our conversation with everything going on. Just more talk about why people are proud to be American, what they like about America, what unique things they want to express to other people that are not American, and go through that. So should be an interesting conversation. We'll see if it goes into a political direction. We're trying not to guide it in that way, but just trying to get a sense of what people think about America, what it means to them, and what they're proud of. All right, we're going to start off. We've usually just give some instructions, overview to the participants as they're on. We have, about 34 participants. We're looking between 30 and 40 participants today to join us to talk about America. But before we get started, we just kind of give them some instructions, some ground rules to think about how they're going to be participating today. And you can see I'm going through a pre-programmed discussion guide that we've already set up to talk to the participants about this. So just give them a chance to read through the instructions of how to be a participant. And then we're going to get into just confirming they're ready to go and start our conversation about America today. As we're waiting for them to read, I'll just wish everyone a happy 4th of July weekend. Hope you're excited and going to have some fun. See some fireworks. Of course, be careful. All right, we're going to go off and ask if everyone is ready to get started. So first question off to the group. We've got 35 people online, and they're voting on that first question. And as they're voting, we're going to actually go into our next question that we're going to load, which is another little instruction. We'll try to get them to be a little bit more verbose. Our goal is for them to respond in kind of tweet length type of responses on the platform today. So we'll give them that, and then we'll get into where are they from and what are they proud about from where they're from in terms of the state in the U.S., and then we're going to talk about America. So 97% of people are ready. It looks like there might be one person not ready, but I think on that, we're going to get started. So again, give them that initial little nudge to be a little bit more verbose in their responses, and let's get started. So first question is just a warm-up, but we want them to tell everyone else in the group why their home state is the best place in the country. Wait for participants to start participating, and then as they start to participate, we're going to get a little bit of a clue about what they're saying live during that process. So it looks like the first person to respond is that it's not the best place in the country, but I think we'll start to get a little bit more responses from the people and start to see what else everyone else says. So as you can see, we're seeing a little bit of an update from the group around beaches, mountains, can't beat it. I'm from Ohio. I guess we have a north coast, which has some beaches, but not quite the beaches that everyone is familiar with. So we live in Florida. So we kind of give a preview of what are the top things that are coming up, what is the bottom things from the group, and then kind of a middle representation, just to kind of continually update, get a little bit of a preview into what the group is thinking as they're voting on these responses as we kind of go through here. And as soon as they are done, which is this kind of countdown clock here, then we'll be able to see all the answers in order based on what people agree with and so forth. So dig into that a little bit in 5 seconds. But as we're getting ready to go, I'm going to go to the next statement, which is just going to be like, all right, let's get into it. With the 4th of July weekend approaching, why don't we talk about America? Looks like people agree with the statement about Florida that no credible argument to make here. Sorry. So first question is, what does America mean to you? So as I can kind of go back, like as we go live in this conversation, you can see the data live as it comes in here, as we see here, as well as if I go back to the responses that are from the last question, I can start to see all of the responses and then looking at the responses in order based on the agreement from the group, what statements people thought were high quality statements that they agree with versus ones that they don't agree with. We can also then go in and start to look at different abilities to filter participants into different groups. So, for example, if I wanted to look at region, I can look at what did the people from the Northeast say, what do they think was interesting, and so forth. And go back and check on what everyone is saying. So far, the top thing is freedom and equality for everyone. So you can see we're getting an active little tally of how many active participants that we have so far. We've got about 36 people active right now. We're tallying up some votes. So we have 900 plus votes so far. And so what the participants are doing while they're going through this process is they're seeing a question, and then they're going to, after they see that question, they're going to see a free-form text box where they can type in their response. And then after they type in and submit their response, they can then start to vote on 2 responses at a time. And then they're going to see those 2 responses, see which one they agree with more. These are responses from other participants. And then after that, they're going to see 2 new responses. And that's going to happen over and over again through the process. So not only are we understanding what all the different responses from the group are, but then what does everyone think about other people's responses? Which ones do they agree with? Which ones do they not agree with? Do that. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and load that next question, which is on a scale of 1 to 5, how proud are you to be American? 1 being not at all proud, 5 being Lee Greenwood proud. And now I can kind of go in. So I can look at, for example, I can go into this last question and see kind of what the overall sense of the group was. For everyone, freedom and equality for everyone. America is about freedom and liberty. So a lot of words about being free or freedom, equality, home in itself. At the same time, we can also look at an automatic segmentation of the group, try to understand like what people thought and where people are different in their thoughts. So in this instance, we're able to actually look at the group and try to segment them into two different groups, and you can see that they kind of split off into a group here on the right of 16 people that just look at it as its home versus another group that looks at it as being really fortunate compared to other countries in the world. Check. Not at all proud is the highest response, which I'm going to say I imagine we're going to start to see people saying they're not proud based on the feedback that we've got here. Looks like from a 1 to 5, like the highest group is a 1 or a 3, kind of in the middle. The 5, very proud, is pretty low in terms of numbers right now. So we're going to get a perspective of what deep fried Twinkies came up as an interesting reason to be proud of being from America. Again, getting a little bit of a preview of what the group says as they're going through that voting process and people are responding with more responses. So as we ask this question about not being proud or how proud are you to be American, that also gets added as a way that we can look at the analysis and look at the data. So it's going to be interesting to see it specifically on this next question. We can also look at how people responded to it in the last question as well. So what does America mean to you? If I want to look at, on a scale of 1 to being proud, the people that are 5 or 4, what did they say about being proud or about America, what it means? If I want to look at what did a group of people that are not as proud, what did they say? It's just a country with people. It's nothing special. Is the top thing for that group. So you can kind of sense the what's coming through from those groups that are less proud about being American. Even though they didn't tell me that they were not proud until after this question, you can already kind of make those connections there. So we're about 10 minutes into the conversation so far. We asked a few questions. We're going to get into a couple more before we go. It's just doing a quick 15-minute conversation with this group of people. Kind of initial response back to my question, which was some may say that America's influence in the world is going down. How would you argue that they are wrong? Top response is I wouldn't. I completely agree with them. Versus a lot of things that we think that they're right. So it's actually interesting response back from that. It might be actually an interesting thing for us to follow up with a follow-up question, though. I think we start to see some of the responses. One of the responses that was here was around, I think it's going up. Though it is now, what we see is in the area where we see it as lower agreement across the group, but that is what someone said. That is going up because of Trump gaining respect across the world. So as we're waiting for a couple more responses to come through, we're going to actually load something up. It could be next, which is if you were to bring an idea or value from another country to make America better, what would it be? Kind of like looking at it from an outside perspective. So I'm going to make just a statement here, just interesting. And then I'm going to go to the question that we had. Bringing an idea from outside, from another country, what would they bring? So it's interesting. Now I'm going to look at this last question a little bit more in depth as we're kind of going through here. So you can see I would not argue that they're wrong because they're demonstrably correct. There's the power, the influence of the military power of it, which is why people believe that we still have a large influence in the world, and so forth. But what's interesting is we can look at a couple different cuts of the groups of people. We can look at whether they're proud to be American, as we kind of looked at before. So I could start to see, like, the world uses the dollar, our military speaks otherwise. That military strength. So there's a lot around the military as well as around the economy and economic influences around the world. I think we could probably assume that people are not proud are going to say that, hey, they're not correct, they're right. You can see a lot of those statements that are around that. They're correct, they're right. Still some around the military, but so forth. And then, let's look at some other interesting things. So, for example, if we wanted to get political and look at different political parties or political affiliations, we can look at what, for example, a Republican group was. So we have about 3 Republicans on, which is a low number, which their kind of military speaks otherwise is what that group of people says. If I'm a Democrat, they're saying that absolutely right. I completely agree with them. I think they're right. They aren't wrong in terms of their standpoint. Go ahead and check. I think we have people responded. The next one, and we have one last question, which is, imagine you were talking about America to someone abroad. Tell me one thing about America you don't think they know about that is really interesting. So let's see what people would bring from outside of America. So it looks like the top response from the group is I would bring Europe's justice and criminality system to the U.S. They are fair and more efficient in this regard. Education, healthcare for everyone, universal healthcare, care more for the poor, universal basic income, universal healthcare system. Corporations aren't people; they care. The care they have for all society, women's rights. So a lot of that, different things around healthcare, around universal basic income, so around providing people living wage, and so forth. But overall, it looks like the top thing was the justice system. Again, I'm just going to curiously look to see, hey, is there any distinct groups of people that have different thoughts here? It looks like as we look into that, education, healthcare for everyone, having that access to healthcare and education and better support, like I would assume some more Western European countries have, that they may be referring to, or around caring more about the poor. I'm going to go ahead and check to see where we're at. From one of the top responses right now around what people think they don't know is we don't mind not having socialized medicine like they do in their country. We still believe in self-determination, which is interesting. I think I personally have lived in Europe briefly, and I think it was interesting from the difference in mindset around the U.S. having a more independent, or like we look after each other or look after ourselves, versus European having a more society or community type of aspect, at least at a very high macro level. I know there's a lot of differences and nuances to that, so forth. Other thing is Americans tip, which maybe if you are in the service industry, you would prefer people from outside of America to know that, so that you are getting tips when they are maybe not used to tipping outside of there. To end the conversation, we're just going to give them a little video, Lee Greenwood, God Bless the USA, to send them out. And then we're going to let them go. So thank you very much, everyone, for participating in today's conversation and watching. Hope everyone has a wonderful 4th of July weekend. My favorite patriotic song is Lee Greenwood's God Bless the USA. So that is why we have put it in here. So enjoy. Take care.